Hi, I'm Leslie Koorhan, and I'm here to talk about why you should switch from Visual Studio 2005 to Visual Studio 2008. There are a lot of new technologies available in 2008. Ajax, Windows Presentation Foundation, Windows Communication Foundation, Windows Workflow Foundation, but actually all of those technologies are available by downloading from the Microsoft website and still use Visual Studio 2005. But the one technology that is really new to Visual Studio 2008 is LINQ, Language Integrated Queries. The beauty of LINQ is that it actually addresses an impedance mismatch between relational data and object-oriented data. And in fact, it goes beyond that. With LINQ, we can actually use queries to go to object data, XML data, and SQL data in very similar ways. Let's take a look at using LINQ with objects.
What I have here is an array of words, as you can see, hello, wonderful, LINQ, beautiful world. And what I'm going to do is use LINQ to select from that array of words any word whose length is less than or equal to 5. This is the syntax. From, word, in words, where word.length is less than or equal to 5, select word. Then I'll go to the short words array that I created up here and write this out to the console. Let's see how this works. Now you might be thinking that this type of code could easily be done with regular code without using LINQ. So what I'll do is I'll comment out these lines of code, the LINQ lines, and I'll simply say for each word in words, if the word.length is less than or equal to 5, then simply go in and print out that word to the console. So you can see this particular piece of code works the same as the other one. But where LINQ really shines is when you want to do something a little more complicated. As you can see in this example code, I'm using LINQ to select from the words array that I created earlier, sorting by word in its length, that is word ascending, based by the length into another type of an array, grouping it by length descending. This, as you can see, is much more complicated, and in fact I need a double for each group in groups, and then for each word in group dot the words. And then you see when I run this code that I get a much more complete type of arrangement of all the words in the array. I leave for you to write the code normally that you would have to write. This LINQ code is much more succinct than that code.
Now in this next example, let's actually see how LINQ can work with XML data.
What we have is a class called book, and we'll create an array of book objects in this book array right here, showing a title, a publisher, and the year of publication. Then we'll use the LINQ to actually do a query, which we read the information from the books array and then create X elements and attributes. The main root element will be the books element, and then for each book we'll create a book element with an attribute of title and another element containing publisher. Here's what the result is going to look like. So as you can see, LINQ works with XML.
And what would a language integrated query be without actually being able to query a database? Let's take a look at an example of using LINQ with SQL.
We start with a class called contact, which will be our link to our table in our database. We indicate that by using a table attribute specifying the actual table name, although we call our class contact. Then we'll have private member variables for holding the contact ID and name and city. Then public properties that are linked to the columns in the table. The first property is contact ID, and we indicate that it is the primary key. The second property is called name, but the actual column name is called contact name. We indicate that with a column attribute. And finally, we have a city property, which is linked to a column of the same name. In our table, we then create a data context class. That's the key to link to SQL, pointing to our source database, which is the Northwind database, and then using the getTable method of the data context object, retrieving our contact class information, we then query for the city equal to Paris, and we select a contact, and for each contact in context, we write out a line saying hello to that particular name of the contact, as you can see in the result right here. And that's how LINQ to SQL works.
Okay. Okay, so I hope you understand now why it is you should move to Visual Studio 2008. Link is a wonderful tool, and if you want to learn more about Link, contact Centriq Training to get training in all of the new Visual Studio 2008 technologies.